CNBC-TV18.
Welcome back. You're tuned in to Editor's Roundtable. Well, Nimish highlighted that in FY23, in fact, the small cap index, well, it underperformed. But I'm looking at the last 5 years, and the Nifty is up close to around 70%. You'll say it's not so bad. But I'll tell you what, the small cap index today is at the same level that it was in January 2018. So that's telling you the kind of pain. I'll give you another data point. You'll say the Nifty is corrected only 5% from the peak, right? But the small cap index has corrected 25% from its peak that we saw in January 2022. So that's giving you a couple of data points that from the broader markets, well, there's not been much participation. And to give you a quick analysis, I took the NSE 500 companies, and within that, if you just look at it, 65% of the companies, they are sitting with cuts of more than 25%. So that's depicting the kind of underperformance you have actually seen from the broader markets, though the headline index is not telling you the entire picture. The big question is, are small caps presenting a buying opportunity? And shouldn't they participate if India is going in the right direction? Well, you have various moves, on the India front that are working. Move to organized from unorganized. You have UPI and FASTag adoption. The NCLT-led cleanup, that's what's good news as well. And the solid PLI-led capex, which will bear fruit in the coming years. Now, also, are they presenting a buying opportunity? Well, you remember the phase from 2015 to 2019? Well, they pretty much, the Nifty as well as the small cap index moved in line. What happened after that was there was some reclassification that came in from SEBI, and that's what spoiled sentiment a little bit. And from there on, you did see the small caps did underperform. Financialization of savings, that's another theme that plays out. And there's more maturity in our markets. So to call it, it's not a satta market any longer. You analyze there's good participation that's coming in. There's more maturity in the markets on the whole. The tax cuts that came as well in 2019, well, that's for all. But the smaller names, well, they could gain a little bit more. Well, before we wind down, though, I want to leave you a quote coming in from Warren Buffett. You need to focus on the playing field. Don't look at the scorecard. Well, then, in fact, you could probably win the game. So, that's the quote that I put out. But can the small cap index participate? And why shouldn't it participate when things are looking up? We have political stability, policy stability here in India, and moves in the right direction. Well, to put that question forth, let's put it to Sunil. Sunil, the question that we had was the small caps haven't really participated. But shouldn't they be participating with India moving in the right direction and so much going for us, politically, policy-wise as well?
So, Nigel, I think the data which you presented was very interesting. But, we're just discussing, I think small cap index is not a true reflection. Because one, it comprises of too many companies. And second is, a lot of these companies necessarily don't have the fundamentals. So in the broader market, it's all going to be bottoms up. And if you actually look at small cap funds, even on the mutual fund side vis-a-vis some of the large cap funds, I think small cap funds have done significantly better. So I think in small cap, the research and the bottoms up becomes very, very important rather than just looking at the index. And I think even if you see the last 2-3 years, I think the same thing will get reflected. So, very, very clear from an investor perspective, when you are doing small caps, I think the index will not be a benchmark. Right, and you are absolutely right, in a growing economy, the smaller companies will tend to grow faster. They are in new segments, backed by entrepreneurs, potential to grow faster because of their size is also that much more.
Sunil, you are very good in identifying the mid caps and small caps. In fact, I know you won't talk about stocks, but just 2 days back or 3 days back, you bought a company, and now that company is announced for a delisting. I won't ask you about individual names, but leave us with some themes in the broader markets where you think inflection point has come, earnings are going to be improving, cost pressures have come down, and there is going to be a demand uptick as well. Few pockets which you like now.
So actually what happens, Nimish, you go through cycles. You have a cycle where things do really, really well, and then, cycles where there are challenges. One good thing which we have seen over the last 3-4 years is that corporate India's balance sheet is phenomenal. Because of the huge profits they made last 2 years, I think almost all companies across segments have great balance sheets. And I think that is what we are focusing on. Companies who have done capex, they don't have too much of debt. So whenever the operating leverage will come in terms of higher capacity utilization or the spread between the raw material and the finished goods rising, I think you will start to see uptake. And there are always some investors who say we won't invest in commodities or we won't invest in places. Our view is that India is such a diverse country that you have opportunities across. You see paper companies which are supposed to be boring make so much money, textiles in between made so much money. I think commodities made so much money. At this point of time, I would say on the smaller side, textile is a segment which has to definitely be looked at. Anything to do with ferrous metals, I think is looking very interesting, because if the world revives, dollar is weakening, I think there is going to be a rally in commodities. Other than that, some of the smaller IT companies have come to a very exciting level. And same is the case with pharma. It's completely ignored. Decent companies, very clean balance sheet, and some of the smaller pharma companies are now available at like low double-digit kind of P multiples. I would say even on the financial side, you have now companies which are trading at on a P basis at 7, 8, 9 times. I think that also looks pretty interesting.
Sunil, at the start of the show, Sonia was celebrating that the RBI has paused. So her EMI rates are not going to go up. I don't know whether there is an EMI out there, but be that...
Prashant's EMI, it's not mine.
Prashant, okay. Correct. Prashant, I can believe. Sonia, I couldn't believe the EMI. Anyway, getting to the point, that's going to be good for real estate as well. And you like that theme, I think. The fund has been investing in various ceramic companies. You've invested in, I think, Stylum as well. Some of those holdings that are official out there. Do you believe that some of these themes, which have corrected a goodish bit from the top, they are presenting now good entry opportunities, some of these stocks in the broader markets?
So real estate, I think residential real estate will slow down, particularly on the luxury side as we move forward. There was a bunch up of sale because of tax changes. So anyone who wanted to invest to save taxes did it before 31st of March. So I think luxury real estate, my view is slightly little bit more sanguine. But on the affordable housing, obviously there is going to be huge demand. At the same time, the RBI has paused, they have not cut. So EMI rates are still very, very high. Having said that, on the themes which you mentioned, which would be the ancillary building material themes, we are quite optimistic and positive. I think they got hit last 6-8 months because, one, there was this huge raw material increase and then fall. Exports, particularly to the Euro region, became non-existent. And third, they also suffered because of huge input costs in terms of energy prices, whether it was gas or coal or even diesel to some extent. All these are now fading or coming off. So I think March would be a quarter where you will start to see a little bit of uptick in terms of margin. But we expect that June quarter should be the quarter which will come to normalization. The markets are still a little bit anxious about the El Nino effect. No one knows what is going to happen because there is a difference of opinion there. Our view is that it should not have that much of an impact, but because of that overhang, stocks have still not started to sort of perform. But once that eases off a little bit, we are very hopeful that the current year should be pretty decent for some of these.
Since we are talking about the quarter to come, right? They were going to be talking a lot about tech stocks next week onwards. TCS on 12th, Infi on 13th. In one word, are you buying tech now or no?
We are positive.
Okay.
You said small cap tech, small cap pharma, textiles, steel, and building materials, and financials also, the smaller financials. Is the environment for the smaller universe of companies tougher as compared to a few years ago? Because we say that the large are becoming larger, and small caps, the true small caps, are at the cusp of from unorganized to organized, or maybe they're already in the organized segment. Is the environment getting more constructive or is it getting tougher?
So one is what we have to see is the structure of our economy. Our economy consists of lakhs and lakhs of small entrepreneurs who create this company. And yes, there is room for some of the very, very large corporates in the large sectors who will do very, very well. But I think some of these sectors by nature tend to be small, Nigel mentioned about some building material. Now sanitary ware itself is 3,000-4,000 crores total size. So the companies necessarily at this point of time will be smaller companies, and they will eventually grow. Or even in some of the other sectors which you mentioned, like in IT, there are some niche IT companies who have done really well last few years, and there are many more who will do. Or even in the pharma side, they are focused on one niche therapeutic segment, and they tend to do very, very well. So I think in India, you will have a lot of those opportunities. And then there are some upcoming sectors, who necessarily start small.
In universe, they were not there, and
now they are getting listed. You have some technology companies. One of my colleagues have bought a company which is into lounge management. I had never even heard about this business. But I'm just giving you a perspective. So these kind of opportunities keep on coming.
Okay. By the way, wrapping up, it's a long weekend, and any of you going to watch the match in Bombay?
I'm planning to go for the match.
Oh, are you guys going together?
Now you guys can plan.
Okay, that's going to be a good one, right? Mumbai Indians and Chennai Super Kings?
I'm going after a long, long time. Otherwise, I used to go for every match. But nowadays, I find it too, I would say.
You don't need to step out because he's got a mini theatre at home itself, so we can enjoy.
Live is live.
Live, yeah. It's just really hot, so that's the reason I don't like to go. But I guess, well, there are box seats as well, which Nimesh will take us for one day, right, Nimesh? But folks, have a great weekend, long weekend coming up, and we'll meet again bright and early on Monday. Thanks for watching.